as a result, Dave Malthouse went to the US, we think 74, 75, and brought back these 4 bats. And we wanted to create some perpetual trophies for our juniors. So one is the best under 14 and one is the best under 16 trophy. So John, who's a great wood craftsman, anyone who's been in our club rooms, John and others with help, built the bar. John built, and the club actually died. John also built the omelettes and was instrumental in the building of the main club rooms, which is in 1978. So John is a celebrity, obviously now through the club, and along with his wife Sue here today. So a couple of years ago, we realised that eventually every trophy runs out of room to keep putting another name on it every year, and we needed to create more room to get a little bit more out of these trophies. So Karen had spoken to John towards the middle of last year, and then we called up towards the start of the season. I think John and Sue have lived out in quite one stuff. And I said, John, is still into woodwork? I went, yeah, okay. And I said, well, your trophies need to be extended a little bit. And his face entirely just lit up. So John and Sue came down here in December, picked them up, and he welcomed to come up and have a close look. And so we have this bottom platform of the trophies that will now give us another 23 years of best under 14 and best under 16 player at the club. And then probably it's time to enter a new era, maybe get some new trophies. So I don't think you're going to be here in 23 years to extend and manage that out. That's swear words. I'm making that's right. So I want to ask John a couple of questions. If I give him the microphone, we'll be here for an hour. So I'm going to ask him a couple of questions. John, tell us, when did you start at the club and how did you come to be at the club?
1965, fall. I was a little bit earlier. I was working in the bar up at the Junction Hotel. We were in the headquarters there. The saloon bar was the headquarters. Jackie Dunstan used to get all the bats made. He worked in them well, and they had timber to do it. So, and of course, wooden bats in those days, they're great. And it was I was working the lowers in those days, and I finished up fiberglass and the handles on them. That started off. When this funny-looking bloke with a pot in his hand came over and said, "Are you still playing football?" I said, "No, I'm giving it away now." And he says, "How about coming over to the club?" He said, "Taking our blokes for physical exercises for the first half hour of training." I said, "Yeah, I can do that." Yeah. I spoke with Harry Douglas. Harry Douglas didn't like training. He could do everything else. He could throw every pitch he could think of. And he didn't like training. So of course I did this, and that's some very smart players we had in those days. They worked out exercises, 10 o'clock to 8:30. Right, well, it lasted about 3 weeks. Then they decided to tune up at 10:30. So they didn't have to do it. From then on, we didn't have that many members in those days. And probably 40, 50 notes. 3 sides, A, B, and C. Mainly I started off in the B's and the C's because the public wouldn't let me go to an away game. And Jackie Dunstan was a bit popular on that, so we finished up our decade. Went to play with the seconds for quite a while. Won a amateur down in Sandringham. Took us 4 goes together. Every time something happened, we played Rainbow Go range. Found out right, played again next week. But we eventually got it, and that was in 1969. And since then, played quite a few games for the fours, a few extra games with the seconds, and then down to the thirds just to fill in, because I was hitting a bit wrong in the tooth. And I was lucky enough to win a couple of trophies. Stand in the Red States brand, but my business with the club.
Okay. So what was the next question? Because they're very on 2 questions. So the next question was, what are some of your greatest memories? You talked about the premiership in the late 60s and then early the 70s in A grade Newport backed it up again. But what's some of your greatest memories, maybe off the field, and something that people don't know also? Back in the day, Sue, who's in the crowd, if you look at some of our uniforms back in the day, there's about 3 eras of Rams uniforms. Before we had team style, we had Sue Merriman. Sue handmade every single uniform top for all of the players including warm-up tops. So what's some of your greatest memories in that?
Well, actually, the first time was the first pen and pad was one. Other famous things were, as I said, talking to a chap over there, was when Dennis Kennedy was coach, and Dennis came from Sunshine, and we'd all have him practice and all this sort of stuff. Now, there's a black playing sheep. I thought shortstop, and he just reminded me it was third base. So that was all right. He went walking off the ground, and Dennis said to him, and says, "What the hell are you going to piss as a pitcher?" "Oh," I said, "Look, I've trained a bit, but he says, my brother's better." "No." "I know, I throw one down." And threw one down there. Knocked Dennis on his rear land. Ever since that, I just said to him before, every club in the BBA went out and bought kitchen machines. Of course, they didn't have no way of counteracting this bloke's pinching in the summer of the world. John Cameron, they were ankle lefty. Next up was getting this Oreo from the council. There's a lot of work pulling up all of the old Bristol fragrances. We got to time that Chauncey Williams, who was a great man in the council, he'd get the place cleaned up. We'd be here every morning, Saturday or Sunday morning, mowing with their hand mowers, mowing the diamond areas, doing it all voluntary. It was terrific. I've never been there two mowers. And that was for them. Well, and then starting off, we said, right, we've got to get a building committee going, which we did. And we built the first section, which very Cleary and myself, Barry Howard, and Jim Butler. And there was about 6 or 7 of us. Desmond Farrister's father, he was our main man. Then was a builder by trade, so we set us on the ranch track. And got the little first it done, and we were as proud as punch, probably mate. And then later on, we think we weren't big enough, so that was an extension to put on. We put that on. That's what's down there at the moment. I hope I can be around long enough to see it renovated. It's swapping a bit tired, but it's been here for that many years or something. So that will be a main achievement that I'm happy to be part of. So there we go. I got the third one.
And then the third question, you remember what it is? So the third question is, so if you go back 1965 and fast forward to now 2026, so we go over 60 years later, and now you turn up and you see this compared to, so what John was talking about is when the Rams moved from the previous oval that we were at to here was in the late 60s.
Yeah.
And it was nothing but a thistle park. And there's a few people here today that were part of clearing all the pickles and actually creating a baseball field. That's what John was talking about.
Yep.
So when you turn up now here 60 years later, and we look at 6 senior teams, 3 women's teams, 13 or 15 junior teams, and a T-ball program at a thriving club, how does that make you feel?
Well, it makes me sorry that I'm down the beach area, because I'd like to still be back in this area, just taking on painting cages and all that sort of stuff, and you like to throw it that way. It's just unbelievable the work the club has done since our league. Yeah. And it's a credit to every person on it and the administration. It's something that I could never really think of it being as it is. When I walked in, it was last year, I think Roland Scott, I was talking to him about it, and I said, I love the work that's been done, and it's fantastic. So honestly, the best of British straight to you, Paul, you and the administrators and everything, you've done a marvellous job. Thank you.
Perfect. What trick? Right. So, please a round of applause for John Merriman, Sue Merriman, all of our lot, we've been some time that we'll keep the ways, thank you very much. It's really expressing it. And then if many times out, but we're greatly proud to be able to share with people, at